Good morning. Thank you guys for coming, especially those of you who don't live in a world of rain and so don't have umbrellas. I am Elizabeth Toby. I am the head of community engagement at Medium, and today I'm going to be talking about my crooked path in support. You'll hear me using a lot of different titles to describe myself as I discuss what I've done over the last 12 years. But I can tell you that it's never been a straight line, and creating my career in tech, which is what I've worked the entirety of my adult life, has a lot been building something out of nothing or making a career or a title or a department where nothing has been before. So first, a little bit about me, at least in a series of job titles. Since 2006, these are the different titles that I have held in my various jobs. And you can see here that I have run departments that range from community, support, PR, communications, marketing. But the one thing that you'll notice through all of these is that the mandate of my job and what really gets me up and gets me out of bed in the morning is that I'm here to support users for whatever company or product I'm working for. Whether that is getting them excited about a thing, getting them evangelizing, informing them, supporting them when they have a problem, keeping them longer in the life cycle of the product, all of these jobs tie back to that supportive function. Even though I've been in so many different departments and I've reported to a wide variety of people, I've actually never reported to the same job title twice. Some of them feature the CEO, the general counsel of the company, chief product officer, the web director. So it's been a little bit random, but again, that mandate and that mission has really been the same. So I'm going to get started by saying it's all really confusing and it's all different, and there's really no direct path for where my career's gone, and perhaps, if I'm going to look for my next gig, the job title or the department that I even might want to fall under is going to be vastly different. So what I always look for is that core mission of being the advocate for and the voice for the community and for the customer, and being able to connect the company and the community together. So let's get started with that first job. When I first graduated college, I was in tech doing marketing, .com kind of work. But my career really started when I got a job as a community manager at a video game company called 2K Games. I was the first community person. This is when I reported into the web department. And my mandate here was really about getting the community excited, building forums, getting them talking, showing them behind the scenes information, making sure that the developers who are creating the game and the people who wanted to buy the game were talking and understanding each other and getting excited. Really, for here, it was all about selling that game when it came out. Over the 6 years that I was working at 2K, my mandate and my job expanded, and I ended up taking over our offsite customer service department, which was the first time that I'd actually gotten into the proper support world. So you might say that it was a happy accident that this happened, but really for us, I think it was designed, because what I realized was I was working and spending all my time focused on the front end of the work and getting people excited about things and making sure they were informed. And then when the game launched, I'd help gather up the bugs or the issues or the desires that they wanted, but I wasn't actually helping with that end state of making sure that they were satisfied and that they had a good experience, that they'd stick around with the game and the company and anything future that we put out there. And so what we really wanted to expand here was the notion of what community and support is, and have that entire life cycle be from the first moment somebody hears about a game till the end when they're involved in it and they've already purchased the product. So from there, I ended up moving on to become the director of community at another online game company. This one made MMOs. They were named Tryon Worlds. And this company, I think, is a lot more like the world many of us live in, where the product is 24/7. Because it was an online game, my mission was still to get people excited about the game, stay in the game, make them successful and excited, but it was also about giving them a reason to stick around, whether it was to pay their monthly subscription fee or buy things in the game or just be there. I always say that the most valuable thing that anyone can give you is their time. And so every day, day in, day out, my team of 10 community managers, whether they were dealing with blog posts or social media or forums or in-game events, we're trying to figure out a way to get people excited and feel that there was value to give us their time to keep playing our games. Over my 3 years at Tryon Worlds, I ended up getting a promotion to be the director of global communications. And when I started at Tryon, I was reporting in the PR department, but we decided when I had this opportunity to be promoted that I would take over the entire communications team and not only be running our community folks, I would also be running all the PR people. And the thinking here was very much like the morph that we had at 2K, which was that communication happens all the time to everyone, and whether you're a journalist at a giant publication or you're a gamer or a blogger or someone live streaming the game on Twitch, that kind of communication, that excitement, and getting people to evangelize your game and understand your game was all the same. So we wanted to break down the walls between a stodgy PR release and a blog post and kind of make it a cohesive communication strategy to be able to support everyone who wanted to be informed about our game and could be the center stage evangelist to tell more people about our product and our company. And then I moved on to be the director of marketing at a mobile app company. This was a bit of a change in the world for me, but their products were still very game-like. And this Venn diagram you see behind is something that I made because this is when I was reporting to a chief product officer who was an amazing engineer and amazing at designing products, but didn't really understand what marketing meant. And she asked me one day to show how it all fit together. So I took as many colored Sharpies as I had, and I drew this monstrosity. And blessedly, my creative director then turned it into this design that you see today, so I could present something that didn't look like a crazy person. And my mandate here was to take all 4 of those different departments and bring them together under one umbrella with the mission of communicating with our users and supporting them. Again, it was a subscription-based app, and we were trying to get people in every day. Retention, support, happiness, knowledge, those were all things that I was obsessing about every day. And so this was my aha moment when I made this Venn diagram, that all 4 of these disciplines were the same thing. Whether you're getting someone excited about a thing, talking about a thing, successful with a thing, or solving problems, all of these jobs deal with communication and supporting users. That's when I ended up moving back from the West Coast home to the East Coast where I am now, because I joined Tumblr as their director of support. This was my first time taking a role that was officially support, not a side project or something I was working in tandem with or something that I was doing, but not necessarily had the title of. And the support team at Tumblr is the most tenured team at the company. They're super knowledgeable. They're a big team. They're about 17 people all told. And the mandate here was to make their work more efficient while also being able to expand the scope of their work, so that currently when I walked in, they were being very reactive in their work, in their ticketing queue, dealing with tech problems, answering support problems. Very important work, but focused pretty much only at the end of that user life cycle when somebody's coming in who's already unhappy or already has a problem. So my mandate here was to expand that work, make that reactive part more efficient so they could focus on the problems that really needed the human caring hand and the troubleshooting and the expertise that everybody has in their brains, rather than those rote tasks like resetting a password. And in the 8 months from the time I started, I was able to expand this team to be only reactive support, to being a more 360 focus on both the proactive community work and the reactive support work. To me, again, this was all of a piece, because whether you are working with the product team before a feature launches to call out red flags or figure out things that could make the users more successful and help the launch be smoother, or you are telling the community about the launch before the product comes out, or you have a plan in place at launch to make sure that it is as smooth and successful for your community as possible, that's all the work the team took on. And again, being able to expand a support team that quickly in a team that was that ingrained already in the culture of the company was a tough ask, but it was hugely successful. We were able to increase the amount of work that the team did without ruining their lives or increasing the hours they had to work or increasing headcount by about 100%. So they were 100% more efficient, learning a totally new skill set without having to be at work twice as long. And that brings me to where I am today. At the beginning of this year, I joined Medium. I was their first person to focus on community. And so I used the Medium highlight tool to sort of use the line that I give in every speech, that communities are the end and the beginning of your company, and without them, your product doesn't have a purpose. Medium is a writing platform. Without our writers and our readers, we quite literally wouldn't have a product. We would just have a shell of technology. But this idea can hold true for something as literal as Nike. Without people to put feet in the shoes and go run and walk and play sports, they would have stores with shoes in them, but there's no purpose for them existing. So my mandate with Medium was to build a strategy and build tactics for how to scale a program to support our users, both on the front end when they're getting into the platform and starting to write and starting to read, throughout their entire life cycle. I focus on the ideas of retention and happiness and engagement, but I deal directly with every different department in our company. I'm talking daily with support, daily with trust and safety, daily with marketing and product. And it really was about building a new department where there wasn't one before for a company that is entirely focused on our users. And now I'm going to get a little bit into the do's and the don'ts that I've learned throughout my career for you guys. I have 3 big takeaways to get to. I'm going to use the adage, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I'm going to start off with the what doesn't kill you part. And so what I can really say that I've learned is don't deal only in qualitative when you're trying to progress in your career. And I use my first company, 2K Games, as an example here. Our work is inherently qualitative. We deal with words, we deal with emotions, we deal with feelings and write-ins from our users. And so when I was trying to push my projects forward and try and expand the scope of my department and rally for headcount, I would walk into meetings with senior leadership with forum posts and upvotes and counts and sentiment and feedback and ticket numbers. And then I would walk out frustrated when they said, I can't really tell you why we should devote development resources to fix this problem, or why we should spend tens of thousands of dollars to resubmit a product to change something on this feedback. I can't see the return on my investment. And it wasn't until I started figuring out a way to present data to them and have a cohesive plan where I could say, these are the problems, it affects X amount of the community. If you don't do this, you can expect Y, and if you do, this is the benefit that you can have for future sales, word of mouth, positive press, that are important both for your company and for the brand, not just the game that we were selling, but future ones. And that's when I was able to officially take over the customer service team and add 2 new community managers to my team. Took about 1.5 years to get there, but it was a really important thing to learn. The other thing that I can say is don't hold yourself to what came before or feel like you have to fit into a mold. At Tryon, I started as the director of community, and that was a known quantity for them. It made sense for them to have a big community team for an online gaming company. But it was a brand new thing to merge community and PR into a single cohesive department. And when that job opened up and I was helping fill in for, reaching out to the journalists and throwing some events, I thought of this as only being temporary. And if I had held myself to the mold of what came before, that these were 2 siloed departments, I never would have gone to my CEO and pitched that communications could be one thing, bringing those 2 disciplines together. And if I'd always thought about what came before and what we'd already had in the past, I would have never taken that role, and the company would have never taken the new direction to make that new department with a new way of thinking. This is how I use this today. These are some charts from pilot programs that I ran several months ago at Medium. As I create a department. Is this still working? Sorry. Create a department, but I was the first person. And so my challenge there was to create a replicable model that can be scaled so that we can hire people intelligently to do this work that I have been doing for the last 12 years. So these are some examples of a pilot program I ran for engaging writers in important areas of interest that we want to grow on the platform. Again, saying what is success and what can be replicable so you can hire a team is very difficult when you're dealing with something as fuzzy as the logic of writing. So I had to think about the metrics that mattered to my executive team and would actually help the business objectives of our growing company when they didn't exist at all. I had to figure out a baseline for those and find a way to measure and be able to report back so I could say what was working and what wasn't, to not only make sure that I was doing the job that made sense so that I could hire people who would also be successful and do something to make our company better, but so that I could intelligently communicate this to our executives who didn't have a background in the support world and the community world that I had. As you can see here, I've figured out numbers that show everything going up and to the right, seeing a 7% lift on something for writing, and all these metrics made sense, so I was able to add a new person to our department and be able to scale out to be able to cover more topic areas and interests, so successfully had our program grow in under a year. I did say that I would talk about something that made you stronger, and so I do want to leave you with something that did work. And for me, it's really talking about approaching these new areas with a clearly defined plan of attack, with data and a case that can be made, almost like you are going to a debate and presenting your argument and showing why what you're doing is successful and makes sense, so that whether you're pitching it to your boss or to an executive team or to a new company, that you have data to back up your plan and that you have a real strategy and the tactics to make it work. For this, I want to go back to my time at Tumblr. As I said, I walked into a support department that was very successful with super tenured and very knowledgeable people, but they had a 7,000 ticket backlog. Yeah, it's a little intense. So the first order of business was to clean that up. And these slides that you can see here was the average wait time that we had when I started and how we got that down to be within a sane number of hours. And for that, it was about making our team more efficient, figuring out processes that were broken, that weren't helping with happiness and retention, that were helping people do too much work that was not the most efficient work that takes all of your brains and all of your expertise. And then being able to, from there, with all of that new time that they had, because we had a more efficient process, helping them dive into product teams and marketing teams to make things more successful on the front end. So you see fixing the old support problems and then the new work that we were able to create. This is an example of a blog post we put out before a rather volatile launch that changed a core feature set in Tumblr. We knew it was going to be an emotional day for our users, so we were able to work with our product team and our communications and marketing team to put out new communication that we hadn't done before, to get in front of that, to really help support our users before the product even launched, rather than just being reactive. And the way I was able to turn support into a community management team in those 8 months was to be able to present this case and present the problem and have clear metrics and a vision for where to go forward. So really don't shy away from doing that, even if you're working in a company that for years has done it a specific way and is already successful in it. There are always ways to move forward and do new things. So I want to end first giving you some information about myself if you have any questions or anything you want to say to follow up. But I really want to end by saying that we are some of the most important people in all of our companies. And if there's anything for you guys to take away from this talk today and to really think about as you're listening to the next speakers, the job that we're doing is evolving. Where I was a decade ago is nowhere near where I am today. And the interconnectedness between company and user is more and more important to the success of companies than they've ever been before. So whether you are in the beginning of your career, in the middle, or more tenured like I am, don't think about what other people are doing as to where your next step is, but think about what makes sense for you, what makes sense for your industry, and what makes sense for your company. Because in some cases, you're going to be creating a job or even a department that doesn't exist. And by using these kinds of skills, of using data, of making a clear case, and of remembering the top-level objectives of your company and your industry to make it successful, you might have a crooked path like me for your career, but you will be able to make something and you will be able to move forward, and that's going to be beneficial for us and for users and for companies everywhere. So thank you so much.